Hi, welcome to our course in Introduction to Biostatistics. I'm going to be your instructor this semester. My name is Tony DeVito. This is my contact information, a couple of pictures here showing you some of my various other interests and hobbies and so on. We'll get to know each other a little bit better as the semester progresses. Here's a little bit more information on my background. I, like you, graduated with a master's degree from Hunter College in the Environmental Occupational Health Science Department, although I'm a few years ahead of you guys. I've been an adjunct lecturer at Hunter for the last, and the CUNY School of Public Health for about the last 19 or 20 years or so. So I've been doing this for a while. My background is in environmental science and chemistry. My day job involves treating HVAC water systems and building environmental systems. Right now, I'm tied up with dealing with New York City's new laws regarding cooling towers and Legionnaire's disease. So some of you might have read a little bit about that in the newspapers over the last couple of years. Okay, as we had an outbreak in the Bronx that was quite large in 2015. Best way to contact me is either one of these email addresses. In order to make sure that I see your emails and I can respond to them quickly and efficiently, I'd appreciate it if you would put your course number into the subject line so that my mail program can grab them, highlight them, and make sure that I don't miss them. Okay, in fact, you can usually get a response from me pretty quickly. Certainly, I can almost pretty much guarantee a response within 24 to 48 hours, but I really try and not make you wait that long. Class materials for this class will be posted on a weekly basis. It's not a self-paced course. This is a course where we'll be looking at the materials week by week by week. So it's really important that you try and keep up a bit as we go through this because each week's materials is going to be built on things that we covered in the week before. Unlike some of those self-guided ones where you can kind of go through all the videos and kind of, like do what you do with Game of Thrones or something like that and watch 20 episodes in the same weekend or something like that. That's not how this particular course is going to work. So at any rate, I also run some health, supplemental help sessions. Typically, those might be online. Some of them might be available in person as well. You'll see announcements on Blackboard about that. So what kind of course is this? What exactly is an online course? Most of you are familiar what we call in education services the brick and mortar course, right? Which is you have a real school, a real desk. You come in, you take the train, you drive in, and you sit at a desk and we have a classroom. This is my view of you, except hopefully most weeks the seats are full instead of empty like they are here. Unlike that, this course takes place in what computer people like to call the cloud. In other words, it exists only ethereally. I'm going to be providing you with a series of videos and recorded sessions. Some of that material is going to be stuff that I sat down and prepared specifically for you on a one-time basis, such as this introduction. Other material is going to be culled from previous lectures, even some lecture material maybe from some other professors if I think it's going to help us out a bit. Okay, so, but there's actually no reason, no requirement that you attend this course physically, only that you keep up with the work online. Um, In-person attendance is not required. On some occasions when I can, I will be doing these supplemental help sessions that I'll be broadcasting. I'll give you links to them on Blackboard where you can go to a certain site on your computer and we can exchange information, chat back and forth online, live. And when I can, I'll even try to arrange to do those in a schoolroom facility where some of you that are, in the area or have the time can stop in and actually be present as I do this so we can actually get some FaceTime as well. Okay, since this is not a self-paced course and all the material builds on material that we learned before, it's really important that you take advantage of your time management skills. Okay, we're going to cover a lot of material in this course, and you really need to keep up. That's really the key to this course, is keeping up with the week-to-week work so that you don't fall behind and get into a situation where it makes it a lot more difficult for you to catch up and really learn the material. I know this course, Biostatistics, a lot of people kind of look at it as a math course. I'm not so sure. It's a math course, but not in the sense of algebra or trigonometry or calculus or anything like that. A lot of the math is really kind of stuff that I think you're going to find much less challenging than I think some of you think that the course might be like just going in at the start. So if you're a little intimidated by math, I'm going to try and make this a version of this course that's not going to get you into a situation where you fall behind or we have a lot of difficulty or you struggle. So I'll try and make sure that this course is something that we all can manage if we're willing to put into the work as we go along. So what do you need to know coming into this course? Elementary statistics or calculus is recommended in the prerequisites for this course, but there's no calculus you're going to have to need for this course. And it is nice if you've taken a statistics course before to at least have been exposed to some of the language and the material in this course, but it's really not necessary. I'm going to go on the assumption that you haven't taken statistics before, and this is your first exposure to it. That's going to be good for almost all of us, because even if you have taken it before, if it's a year ago, or worse, if it's 5 years ago, or even worse than that, like situations I've been in when I went back for my master's degree, if it was 20 years ago, well, you're not going to remember much of it. So it's pretty much you're starting from ground zero anyway. So that's what I'm going to assume, that we don't have any background in statistics at all. You need to be able to use a computer. You need access to a computer. You need access to email. You need access to a web browser so you can log on and look at Blackboard. We're also going to be using some software in this course. I'll get to a bit more about that in a second. Access to the Blackboard system on a regular basis, going there and checking it, checking your email from Blackboard that I send to you through Blackboard is important so that I can get information and materials to you in a timely manner. Okay, so how's the course going to work? Well, we're going to teach, it's going to work through a mix of online lectures, online recorded, in other words, exercises, demonstrations that I'll do for you, examples and exercises that I'll ask you to do, or certainly the ones that I do, I'll give you the data files for, so you can actually mimic what I'm doing as you view the videos, or you can do them on your own separately. So you get some practice doing some of this material. Individual assignments, homework assignments, probably going to be from 6 to 8 homework assignments during the course of the semester. There's going to be 2 exams. Those exams will be online. I'll present them through Blackboard. You'll be able to respond and give your answers and so on and so forth. We'll talk about the ground rules for that as we get close to that time. And then at the end of the semester, by the way, those exams are going to be non-cumulative. They'll only cover the material that we covered since the previous exam. So the first exam will be the first from the beginning of the semester to say the 6th or 7th week, and the second exam will only cover the material from the 7th week, say, to the 12th week, or whenever the exam takes place. And then finally, at the end of the semester, I usually ask you guys to do a course project, but sometimes these online courses can get very large, and it's very difficult to grade all those projects in a timely manner. So lately, what I've been doing is giving people the option of doing a course project or doing a third exam for the material that we haven't covered up to that point with an exam. So we'll get around to that as we get to the end of the semester, but I can be pretty flexible taking that method, and it also means that as we get close to the end of the semester and we get close to the holidays and travel time and stuff like that, we can be a little bit flexible with how we handle the last week or two of the class. Okay, the course content is going to be divided into 15 weekly sessions. I may skip a week or something like that with new material, because since we are doing an online course, we don't have holidays that interfere with our weekly schedule. So there's really 16 or 17 weeks for us to do those 15 weekly sessions. But in the beginning, I may try and maybe get ahead of the game a little bit so that you have a little bit more time with other courses as we get to the end of the semester. If you're involved in those things, time can get tight as we get to the end of the semester. I know that. Each weekly session will introduce you with these videos and lab demos and exercises and so on and so forth. All of the material, links or files, and all of the material will be posted to Blackboard, each in an individual folder for that particular weekly session. So here's what Blackboard might well look like. Your introductory homepage to the course page for Blackboard. It's important that you have access to Blackboard. Okay, what are you going to need for this? Again, access to Blackboard is vital. You need to go there, check it occasionally, make sure you have access to it, get the materials. Now, a lot of the announcements that I make, there's none posted in this particular picture, but a lot of the announcements I make to you on Blackboard about what we're doing in the course, where the materials are, and so on and so forth, what the timing of the course is, what dates and times we have to do things. A lot of that material will be posted in announcements on this top page for your home course, for this course. So you need to be able to check that every once in a while. I often will, when I put those announcements on there, I'll also mirror those announcements in an email that I broadcast to you at the same time that I post it. So it's important that when you go onto Blackboard, that you check to make sure that in your user area, that the email address that you're using is an address that you check frequently. If it isn't, change it to an address that you know when we send you announcements, when I send you announcements, other courses that you take send you announcements via email through Blackboard, that it gets to an email address that you check frequently and that you're going to read, and so on. We're going to need a textbook. Our textbook in this case is going to be an open source. You can Google open source to understand what that really means, but it means that people have contributed their time and efforts, professional statisticians, to putting together a free textbook that is available to us through an organization called openintro.org. And you can go to this website and you can download this textbook as a PDF file. Okay, it looks like just like any other textbook when you start to read it, scan it, and so on and so forth. But the PDF version of it is free. There are other versions. You can actually get copies of it printed out. There's information on how to find that on Blackboard in course materials and in the syllabus. You can buy copies of it printed from Amazon and from several other sources. I'm told that the bookstore may also be carrying printed copies of this open source textbook as well. I think Amazon, the price range on the printed versions is typically only about $10 for a black and white version, up to about a little under $30 for a color version. And I guess how you have it bound or whatever may impact the price, but it's going to be inexpensive, free if you're only going to use the PDF version of it. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to use is we're going to use some software that we're going to require in this course to be able to do these calculations. The first of that software is something that many of you are probably familiar with already, spreadsheet programs such as Microsoft Excel. So we'll need to have access to that in one form or another. The better your access is, the easier it is for you to do assignments, practice, and so on and so forth. So if you go to the CUNY website, there are links to places where you can get student discounted versions of the Microsoft Office programs. So if you haven't done it already, if you need it, you may have access to it at work or other places where you can use it. You can certainly do it that way, but it's always nice to have these things where you have easy access to them on your own computer. Microsoft Word or some other word processing program that you might prefer is going to be necessary also, so that we can exchange documents and information and so on. We will be using a specific piece of software that is meant for statistical analysis. Okay, that software that we're going to be using is called SPSS. That stands for Statistical Program for the Social Sciences. Now, a number of years ago, that used to be a separate company, but recently it was bought, recently, I mean the last 5 years, it was bought up by IBM. So now it's called IBM SPSS. That program is specifically designed to handle large volumes of data, do statistical analyses, and so on and so forth. There are many other programs like this. SAS, if you work for the Department of Health, you may use a program called SAS, a statistical program like SPSS. There are open source programs such as R, a free program that is designed specifically for doing statistical calculations. A little bit more sophisticated, particularly in the interface that it uses. So some of you may find some of this commercial software like SPSS a little bit more accessible to you because it uses drop menus and easy interface and so on and so forth. But if you don't mind a challenge and you want to, you can use any of the other statistical programs. For this course, I'll provide the data in several different formats, so you'll be able to import it into those programs as well. Unfortunately, because of time constraints, I can only directly support you with one particular program, SPSS. I have no objection if you want to provide your own support on how to use this software and how to deal with it, that you can go ahead and use whichever program that you're interested in. Okay, now SPSS is a commercial program. CUNY has a site license for this and Microsoft Excel and many other pieces of software that are useful to us. That site license enables them to install it on computers throughout the CUNY campuses. So virtually any computer room, and so on and so forth throughout the CUNY community at 68th Street, at 125th Street at CUNY School of Public Health, at Silberman on 119th Street. All of the lab computers, laptop computers, library computers have these programs installed on them so that you can use them. I would suggest that this particular program that you consider strongly buying a student version of it. You can Google IBM SPSS student versions, and it'll take you to the IBM website where you can purchase it, or third-party websites such as openonthehub.com, which sells student versions of software. You should be able to find the versions that will be appropriate for what we're going to do. The student version is called a grad pack, SPSS grad pack. There's two basic versions of it, the base version and the standard version. The base version sells with a 6-month license for only about 40 bucks or so, 40 or $45. The standard version has a little bit more in the way of functions in it, and it sells for roughly about $55 or $60. The standard version includes something called logistic regression. There's going to be a lecture at the end of the semester on logistic regression. It's a little bit more of an advanced topic for us. So if you want to buy the base version, you can. If you think you're going to have an application, you want to do some practice with logistic regression, I would suggest you buy that. Otherwise, you can just depend on me and on the other places where you can access SPSS to deal with that last week or two of the semester that we get into. But I really suggest you get it, because as much as you watch me doing it, watch YouTube videos doing it, the best way to learn any particular software program is like riding a bicycle. You can watch a YouTube video on how to do it, but if you really want to do it, you got to get on a bicycle and actually do it yourself. So that software is very often the same way. Okay, the other thing is that since you're going to be working with subjects that data that involves human subjects, a lot of it involves privacy issues, ethical issues in terms of what kind of things go on in the research. There's something called an internal review board. You'll really read about this in this program that I'm about to introduce to you. We ask you to, during this course, to complete a certificate program, an online certificate program in ethics and human research. Okay, and you'll learn all about internal review boards by taking this online course. It'll probably take you anywhere from 3 hours to 8 hours to complete the course. It's a series of readings and quizzes that you take. The non-challenging, you can keep going back and retaking the quizzes if you don't get a high enough score and so on. So it's not that challenging. The information and the coursework in this certificate program is really interesting. So I think you'll enjoy it, particularly if you do it early in the semester, like maybe over this next week or couple of weeks, so before things get really hectic in this course and in your other courses. Okay, so I'd consider there's instructions on Blackboard and in the syllabus on how to access this and how to what particular program that you should be considering when you do this certificate. When you're done with the course, you'll be able to print out a certificate as a PDF file. You can either email that to me or you can upload it to a location that I'll provide on Blackboard. So I know you completed it. You need to complete it before the end of the semester, but I really suggest that you do it early in the process so we're not stuck at the end of the semester when we have a lot of other stuff to get out of the way. Okay, so that's the online course that we're talking about. Here's some basic guidelines. Okay, so how often do you need to be present in class? Well, attendance in class is never required. You don't have to be present in class. Okay, I do run these voluntary help and review sessions most weeks. You can see the scheduling on the syllabus and the Blackboard. I'll be posting announcements and links, but you're not required to take part in any of these sessions. Are going to be available online at a specific time live, so you can chat back and forth with me. I can answer questions and so on and so forth. I can review some of the materials that may be causing some difficulty if I notice it on the homework and so on. Again, links to those, the timing of them will be on the syllabus, and announced on Blackboard and with an email sent out as well. The discussion board is going to be a main way for us to communicate with one another and each other within the class. So as we progress through the semester, part of your class participation grade will be based on how often and how effectively you use these discussions board. So in other words, if a student has a question or something that wants to discuss some material, they have a place where they can post a question or make a statement or something like that. Other students can chime in and perhaps help them and guide them through the material and so on, or that I can also put my 2 cents in as well, so that we can all cooperate with each other and make sure that we all progress through this course. Now, occasionally technology can fail. Videos can get kind of corrupted. There can be other problems. I have so much of this material collected that don't worry about that. We'll always be able to fall back on some form of this that I'm sure that you'll be able to have access to. So if we do have a problem connecting at some point to the scheduled time, we can just roll with that and we can figure out how to correct that or meet at another time as well. Okay, so what do you need to do next? Number one, you need to check Blackboard frequently. Number two, you need to look at the class materials that are posted on roughly a weekly basis. On Blackboard, you need to make sure you review the syllabus so you know when class materials are due, when assignments are due, what we'll be covering, and so on and so forth, where the materials are. You'll have to keep pace with those announcements, the homework assignments, any updates that I email you, and so on and so forth. All of that will be posted to Blackboard. So you have one stop where you can go to get all of this information. Okay, make sure again that you check your default email address on Blackboard and that all of these emails and announcements are directed to somewhere where you check it frequently. So what goes on after all of this? Okay, familiar with Blackboard? Download, read the syllabus, download and get acquainted. This is your assignment for this week. Get started with the city program certificate. You don't need it till the end of the semester, but it's better if you get started early. Install or get access in one form or another to Microsoft Excel and to SPSS. And as a little starter assignment, please log on to Blackboard, go to the discussions group, start a new thread in the area. Let's introduce ourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself, why you might be taking this course, and so on and so forth. You don't have to get very personal. It can be very cursory if you want. And then also read through some of your students and perhaps reply. A couple of them look interesting. Maybe you can post a reply to some of them. I'd like everybody to do at least one initial post themselves. And reply to at least two others. And part of this exercise is so we get to know each other. I get to get a feel for what your background is, what your level of knowledge about biostatistics might be. So it'll help me with the course, but it's also a way for you to demonstrate that you know how to use this all important discussions board. So you get a little practice with it. So when you have a question, you know how to post it there. And if you want to take part and help other students or have exchanges with other students, you also have access to it that way. Okay, so what are the rules for this course? There's three main rules for this course. Number one, don't panic. We don't like panic. We don't need panic. It doesn't contribute to anything. Even if you're a little concerned about this stuff, trust me, we've gotten a lot of people that are really scared of math courses through this course, and I think we're going to get you through it as well. Keep up. Again, this is not a self-paced course. This is something you need to keep up with the material week by week by week. When you fall behind, things can get a little bit more difficult. So it really helps to keep up with the material. And the third rule is that no man gets left behind. We have lots of material here. You can go back and go over it again and so on and so forth. We have a lot of help. We're going to have a number of help sessions and question and answer exchanges and so on and so forth. So my attitude is that if you're willing to put in the work, that there's no reason that you can't learn this material, be successful with it, and have it become a useful tool for you moving forward in nutrition or public health or environmental science or whatever particular track that you're following in your continuing education and in your future work outside of school. Okay, so I'm looking forward to an interesting and rewarding experience this semester, not just for you guys, but for me too. So we'll be communicating with each other quite a bit. So take care. Have a pleasant week, and keep your eye on Blackboard for the posted materials.